Begin our Dead Guys series with Democritus, who stated that matter is composed of small particles called atoms. These atoms are indivisible and indestructible no matter how small they are. He also said atoms are all different sizes and shapes, and that these sizes, shapes, and movements determine the properties of the object. Aristotle had a different opinion. He said that matter cannot be broken down into atoms, and that the only elements on Earth were earth, air, fire, and water. He also said anything can be broken down into smaller pieces regardless of how small it was. So if you imagine these two opposing opinions, the one question that Aristotle had that Democritus couldn't answer was that if matter is made up of small atoms, how does everything stay together? Why doesn't it all just fall apart? Because he couldn't answer that question, people opposed his view and Democritus was discredited. Antoine Lavoisier came along much later and discovered oxygen. He also developed the law of conservation of matter, which basically stated that matter cannot be created nor destroyed, and that matter just moves around to create new compounds. So if you imagine this picture here of sulfur and iron becoming iron 2 sulfide, you have 88 grams of reactants in total on the left, and you're going to have 88 grams of product on the right. So there's nothing missing. Next we have Benjamin Franklin. He did not invent electricity, and he did not invent lightning. He did, however, perform an experiment where he tied a key to a kite and flew it in a storm. He also discovered that electricity had both positive and negative charges, and that like charges repel each other, while opposite charges attract one another. Joseph Proust came along and developed the law of constant composition. It basically says that matter cannot change its composition, and that things like water will always be 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. And if it doesn't have that, then it's not water. So if we have two opposing elements here, or two opposing compounds, if you change the composition, then you change the compound. So for example, oxygen is O2. Oxygen is needed for life. Ozone is O3. All we've done is add an oxygen, and yet we've made something that's now dead.
Created using Powtoon.